So this is a question that I get often in my coaching sessions, so I figured I'd make a video to sort of break this down once and for all. It's always something along the lines of, I get 30 kills in one game and then I get 10 kills the next. How do I become more consistent? And the answer is there's a few different ways, but the important thing to remember is no matter what you do to become consistent, your performances will not be very consistent because of the fact that even though ranking systems exist in this game, you are never going to be guaranteed to be matched up against players that are your exact same skill level. A Gold Nova 2 player could be someone with 200 hours who got carried by their friends, or they could also be somebody with 2,500 hours who doesn't play the game very often and is just dunking on you. So it's important to keep in mind that even if you do become a more consistent player, you are not going to be playing against opponents of the exact same skill level every time. So with that in mind, just remember that there will still be games where you bottom frag and you feel like you play poorly, but it's not because of you, it's because of the other team. So one of the first aspects of becoming a more consistent player is taking good engagements, or taking fights that are more favorable to you than they are to the opponent. So for this example, we're going to be looking at Noza, a Faceit level 10 player who I actually had a coaching session with a few days before recording this, because when I was looking through his demo, I thought a few of these rounds were perfect examples of how to and how not to take good engagements. So right off the bat in this first round, he's trying to find an opening, working his way out ramp, and then he just dry peeks CT spawn, where he gets shut down by the opper playing there. I wouldn't really call this a good engagement, because in that long range fight where there's always a possibility of somebody opping there, that's usually a fight that the opper will win at least 80% of the time. And even though you could probably out aim the player playing CT spawn in most situations, you don't want to take these engagements because they're going to stop working when you play against players who have better aim than you. It's important to keep in mind what weapon you have when taking good engagements. If you have an SMG, don't force yourself to take long-range fights where you're not going to win. Play an angle where you get close up and you have to force the enemy into a close-range fight where the SMG is actually favored to win. And on the flip side, if you have a weapon that favors long-range engagements like an op, don't try to find an entry into the B bomb site. Go somewhere where that op is favored and you can take the longer range engagements and have a much better chance of getting a kill. If you're not sure whether or not you're taking good engagements, a good indicator is to go back and watch your own demos and figure out how easy was it for the enemy to kill you. If it seemed like the enemy didn't have to put in much effort in order to get the kill off, chances are you weren't taking a very favorable engagement. So that's a good tell that you really shouldn't be going for that sort of play a second time. So earlier in the video I showed an example where Noza didn't take a very good engagement, but in this round I wanted to show an example of him actually taking a good engagement. He's going to go top mid, post up on top connector with the op, and he actually wins this fight because this is a fight that is much more favorable to him opping towards top mid. He had a good spawn, so he was likely to get there before anyone else peeking, and all he had to do was pull the trigger. That's a good example of a favorable engagement that you can take. And you want to take these sort of engagements more often so that you can win duels against players who might actually have better aim than you. So another way that you can become a more consistent player is by having a set warm-up routine that you go through every single day before you jump into your competitive matches. And by that, I don't just mean playing deathmatch. In fact, I think that in some ways, deathmatch actually hurts you more than it helps you, because how many times have you heard someone say, I'll go into deathmatch and I'll hit all of these insane shots and I'll just be feeling really good, and then when I get into an actual game I can't get any kills. I play really poorly, I feel like all that time I spent deathmatching was wasted. And the reality is that deathmatch is nothing like a real game. In deathmatch, you're running around flicking at people, playing out in the open, just raw aim duels across the map. In real games, you have to worry about angles, positioning, grenade usage, game sense. There's so much more to real games than deathmatch, which is why even if you might be hitting these insane shots in deathmatch, they're almost never going to transfer over because real games are nothing like that. So, am I saying don't play deathmatch ever? No, not necessarily. I do think that deathmatch can be useful if you apply it properly, using it to train with certain weapons or shooting techniques that you haven't used before, just using it as a warm-up in general. But don't expect it to fix all of your problems. My set warm-up routine that I have before I play actually doesn't involve any deathmatch. It involves getting 500 kills in aimbots using a bunch of various aiming techniques just so that I can get warm, feel comfortable with my mouse, and that's really all I need to be able to jump into a game and perform at my average level. So to reiterate, there's nothing wrong with playing deathmatch, but don't exclusively play deathmatch, and don't expect playing deathmatch to instantly make you improve and solve all of your problems. So the last piece of advice that I have regarding being a more consistent player is play the same spots and play spots that are similar in terms of playstyle. So what I mean by that is, if you're more of a player that enjoys just sitting back, being an anchor, and just buying time for your teammates, using your grenades efficiently, and holding down the line, then you should play spots like Pit on Inferno, the B site on Mirage, the A site on Nuke. If you like to move around the map more and get a lot of kills, maybe you want to consider playing rotator positions like Arches on Inferno, or Z on Train. It all really depends on your own playstyle. Just get experience playing in these spots so that you can make the most out of your playstyle and so that you can have the most consistent gameplay. No one in the game can efficiently play every spot on every map. They specialize in certain spots so that they can have consistent routines that they go through when playing on these maps. If you want to learn how to play certain spots, watch what the pros do and see what sort of angles they hold, what utility they use, and things like that. I actually have a video that I made about how to play the A site on Nuke from the perspective of Breeze. Be sure to check that one out. I'll leave a link in the description. Overall, you want to play the same spots, the same kind of spots, and play them multiple times so that you can develop routines on them and know what to do in multiple situations. If you end up playing different spots every single time, you're never going to find a consistent performance because nobody knows how to play every spot on every map. But with that being said, that's all of the information that I have to share in this particular video. If you liked it, be sure to give a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button, leave a comment, let me know your thoughts. Be sure to join my Discord. I do plan on getting some 10-mans going, starting to build more of a community over there, and I look forward to seeing you all there soon.